Internet sensation Billie Eilish has exploded in popularity over the past few years. The overnight stardom must have left the teenage Eilish in a bit of culture shock. This, we could speculate, probably influenced her odd taste in fashion of baggy clothes and rotating hair colors. But it can't be easy to be such a young kid right in the stage of life where you feel like everyone is looking at you and judging your appearance. But believe it or not, Eilish wasn't always into her current fashion, which is why you're here. So let's get right into how Billie Eilish dressed before she was famous. We may as well start at the very beginning. Here we see Billie with her older brother wearing what is common of babies right out of the bathtub or taking a nap. Oddly enough, that onesie isn't too far removed from what Billie would wear on the global stage in her teenage years. Toddler Billie was into music as we see in this photo. She also was starting to work on the quintessential Billie Eilish blank face camera stare, something she perfected a decade or so later, but the garments continue to be typical. These photos of Billie show a slightly older Eilish starting to get into the baggy clothes thing. But as we can also see, she hasn't abandoned the girly dresses completely. She probably chose the Yankees hat. Remember, she grew up in LA because it was black and matched her other baggy clothes. Just speculating, but why else wear a New York cap in California? In her childhood, Eilish was homeschooled and participated in horseback riding, dance, and of course songwriting in addition to her schoolwork. So it was surely common that she would sport one of the outfits we see here, straight out of Dance Moms. Oddly enough, it was Billie's pursuit of dance that led her to post her first song to SoundCloud in order to pass it along to a dance teacher for choreography. The rest of that story is history. Though we don't have the pictures to prove it, it's also reasonable to assume she spent plenty of time in the horseback riding getup while participating in that activity. On a side note, she must have been a little obsessed with Bieber, judging by the wall full of posters in that photo. The answer is yes. As a youngster, Billie also got very involved in the Los Angeles Children's Choir. As a member of a refined ensemble such as this one, Eilish's individual sense of style would have been set aside in order to blend in as part of the larger group. Something that is difficult to imagine Billie doing today, but when she joined the group at age 8, she hadn't necessarily developed her counterculture tendencies just yet. Even as she grew a little older and continued to sing both on her own and with her older brother, she continued to look just like a normal kid hanging around the house. Her knack for singing and even performing in front of cameras and crowds had already taken hold, but the appearance hadn't adapted to Billie's coming fame. Here are some more images of Eilish in her dance environment. She's wearing what you would expect, and she's still willing to conform to the appearance of the group, just like in her children's choir days. As we all know, she suffered a career-ending injury cutting her years in the dance studio short, but before her unfortunate ailment, she worked hard sweating it out in the dance studio. Fortunately for Eilish and her millions of fans, her time dancing lasted long enough to get her singing career underway. The injuries would no longer matter. Here's a slightly older image of Billie. We can see she's wearing typical mid-2000s, late middle early high school clothes. Nothing out of the ordinary. One thing to note here is the natural blonde hair color. It's one of the last times she'll be seen in that way. Soon the hair color will start to change with the seasons, sometimes faster. But before the hair goes silver, here are a few more images of Billie dressing as normal can be. In these photos taken right around the time of her big break, Billie still looks like a normal teen. However, you could start to see a little of the dark side coming through in her face and eyes. The transformation seems to have begun and will soon spread to the hair, and then the clothes. As the hair started to change, the clothes got a little more grown-up looking. The Billie Eilish we know today doesn't typically show this much skin, but before the days of huge baggy garments, she dressed like a pretty normal teenager, though the hair was beginning to give an indication of the ongoing transformation. Once the hair went silver and her first song went bananas on SoundCloud, the change from young blonde and normal Billie to the Billie Eilish of spiders, vampires, jumpsuits, and unending hair colors was complete. Now we must wait to see where this goes from here. One thing we can count on, I don't think it could possibly get any weirder. So we're left to speculate what caused this shift in Eilish from a normal baby, toddler, kiddo, preteen, even early teenager into the wild appearance we know today. She's commented on it publicly, stating that she doesn't like to show much of her body, which would open her to criticism. That's a totally fair point, especially for a teenager in the age of brutal social media scrutiny. That partially explains the baggy clothes. Maybe they're so unique to keep the modest look hip and interesting. I don't know. Then we get to the hair, makeup, and the rest of her appearance. Is this truly an expression of who Billie is? If so, good for her. She should go for it and not be ashamed. Is it perhaps a publicity stunt to grab some more attention? If so, it seems to be working, so who are we to condemn it? I bet we would all do something similar if it got our product in front of so many eyeballs. So the real question is, what do you make of this? Put your thoughts in the comments and we'll see you there to hash these questions out. Okay, Terrific Tens fans, that'll be all for now. Stay tuned for the next one coming down the YouTube pipes very soon. The best way to stay up to date is to hit the subscribe button and ring that bell. Until next time, please don't try to kiss me on the sidewalk.